disturbing things I found on the internet. Lazy Masquerade. Scared already. Joanna Lopez, a mystery wrapped in static.
There's something particularly chilling about unexpected and unexplained TV broadcasts, especially those from the pre-internet era. A time before 24/7 broadcasting, and a period many of us associate with our childhoods, with Saturday morning cartoons and carefree weekends in front of the tube.
The tube.
For a Selena Delgado or a Max Headroom to suddenly intrude that space and appear in our very living rooms,
I know this
that would
one.
feel like a personal attack on the most fragile part of our psyche. The fact that both Selena and Max are being discussed today, decades after they aired, just goes to show how much a mysterious broadcast can stay lodged in our minds.
I know,
even
but
if we weren't
the
there to
Max
witness
one,
them ourselves.
at least I'd seen a video once about it. I don't remember
Just
the
like the Selena
details.
Delgado mystery, today's first entry revolves around a missing persons alert. And just like the Max Headroom interruption, it comes from the unofficial home of creepy and enigmatic broadcasting.
Okay.
Chicago. January 14th, 1989 was business as usual at Chicago's WMAQ, a local TV station owned by NBC. In the early hours, the channel ended their scheduled programming the same way they always did, by airing a selection of public service announcements, a sermon, and finally, the national anthem, played over the same old pre-recorded footage as always.
Okay.
As the camera zoomed in on the American flag, the few viewers still tuned in
America,
no doubt expected the
fuck yeah.
station to cut to their usual sign-off screen. But that didn't happen.
Okay.
Instead,
You know, I didn't even think of it. Like, this made me realize something pretty obvious. But for me, I always thought, like, you know, the non-stop 24/7 TV broadcasting had been a thing since probably, like, I don't know, 50s, 60s, around there at least. But yeah, it seems like late 80s, that was already a thing that that was not yet a thing. That sometime, yeah, like the TV station would only run for like a part of the day. I never thought of that. Never thought of that, yeah.
this did.
American. Missing Joanna Lopez. Yeah, I mean, you can't really see her face, so I don't know.
With no pre-warning and no context, the station hard cut to a missing persons alert for a Joanna Lopez.
Yeah.
This slide remained on screen for several hours until the morning.
Oh, damn.
Most of the station's viewers were caught off guard for obvious reasons. The photo of the missing girl was extremely grainy.
Yeah, like, it's better than nothing you could say, but you can't even make out her face. So, I mean, I guess we saw in a recent Nick Crowley video that even with like crazy police sketch, people sometimes recognize even if it looks nothing like them, so.
As if it were a photocopy of an actual poster. It's hard to make out any facial details at all, and those large glasses give her a deeply uncanny,
I can't even
almost
tell those
alien-like
glasses.
appearance.
Is there glasses?
There was no voiceover to explain who this Joanna Lopez was, where she had last been seen, or what may have happened to her.
Yeah, that's weird.
In fact, there was no sound whatsoever. For the people who happened to be tuned in, the only thing they would have heard was either ominous silence or the
That's
static buzz of their
creepy.
television sets. And just as there was a
But I guess right away, like, if you're to be fair, it's probably nothing that crazy. Like, it's, you know, someone put it on out of accident or just forgot about it and it's just stayed the whole night and that's about it.
lack of sound, there was also a disturbing lack of information.
Right, I guess that's
Just a very low-quality photo of the girl who had disappeared, her name, and an unlabeled phone number to contact who exactly? Her parents? The local sheriff's department? To give you an idea of what a typical missing persons alert looked like, here's
Sure.
one from another NBC-affiliated channel around the same time period.
Missing Kevin Ayotte, now age 6, last seen Sugar Bush, Minnesota, September 30th,
Yeah,
1982.
this makes a lot more sense.
Call 800-843-5678.
As you can see, there's plenty of information, along with a voiceover, a clear photo, and the name of the department you should contact. All things absent from the Joanna Lopez alert. It's easy to understand why so many people did, and to this day still do, find this image so disturbing.
I mean,
picture it.
It's just a bad
late at
image.
night and you can't sleep, so you start watching WMAQ. The broadcasting's coming to an end, and you're probably expecting to see another commercial or the sign-off screen.
I guess so. If I was a kid, I'd be scared.
With no sound and no explanation.
If I was a kid, I'd be scared.
But even more unnerving than the broadcast itself were the details of Joanna Lopez's actual case.
And
by which I mean, there didn't seem to be any. For the past 33 years, people have dug through police files, newspaper records, and reports from other TV stations, and no one's found any mention of a Joanna Lopez disappearing in the Chicago area in the late 80s. To this day, there's still no information about her online.
That is more weird.
As far as we can tell, this is the only known report of her vanishing that exists.
What about the number? Like, I'm sure people tried calling that number.
Though, it's not the only time her face appeared on television.
Oh.
Whether intentionally or accidentally, Joanna Lopez made yet another appearance on WMAQ in 1991. That night, just after the national anthem came to an end and the station was about to sign off, the exact same missing person slide filled the screen.
Weird as hell.
The only difference being that the image quality was slightly higher this time. But unlike the first broadcast in '89, the slide didn't remain on screen throughout the night. In fact, it only aired for 10 seconds before quickly cutting to the network's usual sign-off screen. Had this second broadcast been a mistake? One that was quickly caught by a tech?
Now I'm thinking, obviously I have no idea how it actually works back in the days to show stuff for the broadcast, right? But again, this was some half-made, like, missing persons paper thing that was like around the studio or whatever, like, they broadcast the broadcasting, and just accidentally someone used it or put it, or it ended up in the queue or whatever. It works. I mean, I don't know enough of how it works to really understand.
Ignition? If so, how did the slide end up on that night's programming, 2 years after making its first and only other appearance? And if it wasn't a mistake, why would they only screen the image for such a short time and still give out no further context or details about who Joanna Lopez was? Aside from a few people who had recorded one or both of the broadcasts, Joanna Lopez quickly faded from people's minds. That is, until the 1989 sign-off was uploaded to YouTube by the Museum of Classic Chicago Television. After that, small internet communities picked up on the mystery, which in turn caught the eyes of some popular YouTubers. Now, with the case fully revived, new generations of internet investigators have come up with a number of chilling theories about who Joanna was, and about the nature of the broadcasts themselves. Here are the main ones. Theory 1. Joanna Lopez was a young girl who had been taken, and perhaps murdered. Potentially, she was this still unidentified Jane Doe, found murdered in a Chicago alleyway in 1994. The Doe does somewhat resemble the photo of Joanna, and appears to be of a similar age.
The subtitles writing Doe as Doe, that's funny.
Though obviously it's hard to tell. Theory 2.
No glass.
This poster was made by the person who had taken Joanna, her trafficker. They had anonymously contacted the TV station and paid for this screen to be displayed at night, only providing a photo of Joanna.
Now we're going full on conspiracy theory.
There's no other information, because they weren't appealing for any.
I mean, frankly, is this hard to freaking figure out? Like, it should be able, like, if people really wanted to, you should be able to track the station, who worked there at the time, maybe get in contact with them and ask about this. Like, someone should have an answer.
They just wanted her family to contact them so they could begin negotiations. They didn't know who Joanna's parents were, but this was their way of telling them, "We have your daughter. Call this number if you ever want to see her alive again."
Come on. Internet do internet things.
Joanna Lopez was a so-called frequent flyer, a youth who made a habit of running away from home. That would explain the half-hearted nature of the appeal in 1989. She then ran off again in 1991, and the network aired the same poster without any updates. In both cases, she returned home soon after the broadcasts, hence why there aren't any police records about her disappearance.
This is like those Reddit,
Theory 4.
you know,
Joanna Lopez
writers
never existed in the first place,
always trying to
and
come up with theories.
WMAQ was either playing a trick or conducting a test. For a photo from the late 80s, the image quality was like something from the 60s.
Or worse.
The name Joanna Lopez was also extremely generic, like the Spanish version of Jane Doe. The general lack of information given about her also made this seem like a fake appeal. And since there's no records of any Joanna Lopez going missing in Chicago, maybe this really was just a sick joke. With all these new theories now floating around on the internet, the r/Joanna Lopez subreddit was set up to help investigate the mystery. In the 5 months since the group was established, its members have made some huge discoveries.
Okay.
Here's what we now know, thanks to them.
Like again, someone must have contacted the number, or I mean the number might be dead by now, but even back then, so there must be someone with some answers.
Firstly, they figured out who the phone number was for.
Here we go.
It had been used by various police departments throughout the 80s and 90s, but at the time of the broadcast, the number belonged to Joe Mayo, commander of the youth division of the Chicago Police Department. That seemed to confirm that the broadcast was legitimate, that Joanna Lopez was a real missing person, and, importantly, that she was under the age of 18 when she went missing. One of the Reddit users aiding the hunt was Chris Polygon. Chris submitted a Freedom of Information Act request for the name Joanna Lopez to get his hands on any information that may exist about her in the police's database. The authorities got back to him and confirmed that nobody with that name had gone missing in Chicago between 1988 and 1990.
Okay.
That was bizarre, but it certainly doesn't mean that Joanna Lopez wasn't real.
Yeah.
As one of the sub's moderators wrote regarding the FOIA request, quote, "Illinois is a body-present state. This means that you cannot be declared dead unless your body has been found.
Interesting.
The law states that they won't release any records that contain information on a currently living person. There are 3 possibilities in this situation. 1. We're requesting the wrong years, or the name's been misspelt. 2. The police can't release records because someone involved is still alive, or the body hasn't been located.
We'll see.
3. Joanna was never reported missing to begin with." As this mod went on to state, it's also possible that all the records for Joanna Lopez's case were either lost or kept in paper format and not digitized. But here's where things get really interesting. The group were able to confirm with WMAQ themselves that this was a real broadcast, and that an anonymous source had requested for the slate to be aired instead of the usual sign-off screen. This source was an individual, and not an institution like a foster home, as some have suggested.
Interesting.
WMAQ also confirmed that the photo used for the appeal was indeed a photocopy. That explained why the image quality was so poor.
Yeah.
That graininess, combined with Joanna's large glasses and heavy makeup, are what give the image its creepy aesthetic.
How do you see makeup? How does anyone see that? I couldn't barely see the glass.
Were able to clean up the photo and improve the overall quality of it. And using advanced digital editing, user the Lava Hot Shit was able to create this detailed enhancement of Joanna's face, giving us a much more accurate glimpse of what she probably looked like. 2 weeks after that recreation by Lava Hot was posted, another user, Binding Bloodline, made a notable discovery in a West Chicago Community High yearbook. A former student there, named Rachel Lopez, bore a striking resemblance to the photo from the sign-off. On top of that, the timelines added up. This Rachel Lopez would have been a freshman in 1988, and the first Joanna Lopez broadcast was in 1989. Members of the group started theorizing that Rachel was Joanna's real name, or that perhaps, shortly after her vanishing, she decided to go by Joanna for whatever reason.
Can you just...
Well, the resemblance was certainly there. But unfortunately, the high school's website also had other yearbooks from the years 89 to 91, which also featured this Rachel Lopez.
She'd been present.
She'd been present for all 4 years of high school. That means, unless she'd gone missing on 2 separate occasions and had been quickly found both times, then in all likelihood, this wasn't her. With that realization, people were starting to lose hope that the Joanna Lopez mystery would ever be solved. But then, just last month, another, much more promising discovery was announced.
I was gonna say, like, with all the info so far, like, it's kind of a dead end, except if, you know, for some weird way, the station had kept the number of the anonymous, you know, caller back then. That's probably, like, the only lead you would have.
By one of the group moderators. User Bubblegum Trad just contacted me on Discord. They just got off the phone with a Joanna Lopez from Chicago who ran away from home in 1989. They said it could be her, and they'll get back in touch soon. Is it an unfortunate coincidence, or is this our girl? Only time will tell. But two Joanna Lopez's going missing in 1989 in the same city would be ridiculous.
Maybe?
We won't be disclosing how we got the number out of the safety and protection of the people involved, but I have verified the information with Bubblegum. They're being honest. Now we just need to see if Joanna will come through and call us back. If she does, we may be at the end of the investigation. If it isn't her, we've got the world's worst coincidence on our hands. Stay tuned.
Indeed, so.
Bubblegum Trad would go on to explain how when he called this Joanna Lopez, she'd reacted very authentically. However, she did tell them that she had only run off for a few days back in '89, and that her parents probably wouldn't have contacted any news stations about it. Still, this was a genuinely exciting moment for those following the mystery.
This is probably wrong.
Could this be it? Could the Joanna Lopez from the broadcasts have been found? Unfortunately, we still don't know. Despite emailing her a photo of the missing poster, this Joanna Lopez still hasn't replied to Bubblegum to confirm that it was her. So, either this really was the Joanna from the broadcast, and she simply didn't want to discuss some bad memories from the past. Or this really was just a huge coincidence, and this unconnected woman was just freaked out by the whole situation.
I was gonna say I can look on Reddit. It's been 2 years.
But what do you think? Could this really be the Joanna Lopez we've been searching for?
Okay, so let's look it up. So Joanna Lopez, Reddit. Let's see if in the last 2 years they got the info. Joanna Lopez, Reddit. 18 days ago. Are they still talking about it? Yeah. Could this be okay? Random people putting random stuff, I assume. Let's see if I do by top all time. May has just been found. Any update 3 years ago? Edit. It's been 1 year now, and I see people comment on this post time to time. No, we never got word back. Now will we be contacting her again? Since we've got some closure and enough evidence that she's been found. Oh, you do? Wait, okay, it's been about 3 months. We can't get a hold of her. We got a pretty satisfying theory as to this one incident has gone down, and I can pretty safely say Joanna is safe. Please do not harass her or anyone involved in the case. Perhaps never meant missing long enough for a report to be filed. There's not much else to do. Okay. This doesn't really explain much, but okay. We'll leave it at that. I mean, this doesn't explain much. Like, if someone only meant missing a few days, why would this thing be shown again like 2 or 3 years later?
If not, then is the real Joanna still out there somewhere, alive and well? This is now a confirmed missing persons broadcast, so why are there no police records of Joanna's case? We don't have all the answers yet, but with each passing month, the Joanna Lopez subreddit seems to be getting closer and closer to resolving this mystery. I highly recommend you head over there and help join the hunt, or at least keep an eye on how things develop.
This concludes another day about
okay, I mean, it's definitely interesting, like, something like this, you know, you'd think something that made it on TV. It'd be much more easy to find the answers about it, but no. Yeah, I mean, I won't say it was, you know, it was only 30 years ago, and it was 30 years ago, which might be a long time in some way. It's crazy that there's no answers, yeah. Yeah.
On WMAQ TV,
maybe one day.
5, NBC in Chicago.
Okay, I'm just in case.
WMAQ TV constantly strives to maintain high programming standards in the public interest.
J Black today said I was gonna say if it's the other case that he talked about earlier or that one so might skip, but I think this is different.
I'll keep this next entry short, because there's really not much information about it online. But what there is absolutely horrifying.
Okay.
Ray J. Sharif Black was a nurse practitioner anesthetist from Baltimore, whose life was seemingly crumbling around him.
Sad.
For 3 years, he had been having trouble with his ex-wife, Wendy Black, who, according to Jay, didn't let him see his kids. Wendy had filed multiple protection orders against Jay, saying that she didn't feel safe around him and feared for her life. All of her requests were denied by the court. Jay eventually moved on from Wendy and ended up having some children with his new girlfriend, Tara LeBang. But by the end of 2021, things had turned sour between them, and Jay and Tara separated. Jay began to worry that his life was about to repeat itself. And on December 11th, 2021, he snapped.
Oh boy.
That afternoon, he began a Facebook livestream
It's a live stream
outside a
saying,
house, talking to his viewers about the issues he was having with his ex-wife Wendy, the drawn-out custody battle he'd been dealing with, and the allegedly false accusations that he was having to defend himself from. He then began saying how he had just gotten into an argument with his other ex, Tara. For the first 50 seconds of the video, it appeared as if this stream was just a way for Jay to let off some steam, to get some things off his chest, to confide in any of his Facebook friends who would listen.
Is he gonna kill someone or himself?
But it soon became apparent that that wasn't his intention at all. This video wasn't an appeal for sympathy. It was a confession.
Oh boy.
After bringing up his trouble with Tara, Jay dropped a bombshell that none of his friends saw coming. One
Did
that
he already
completely
kill
changed
someone?
the tone of the video.
You know, we got in a fight. First thing she does is threatening that she's going to do the same thing. You're never going to see your kids, blah, blah, blah. It's the holidays, man. I don't have no family, nothing. Anyway, I just did something crazy, man. I just shot my ex-girlfriend in the head, yo. Felt like a dream. Like, I never thought I would be that guy.
It's so calm about it, damn. Like, I'm sure that people watching this would just not register. I just said that. Like, his tone of voice is so calm and just, yeah. Okay. It's fucked.
Jay wasn't lying. When the authorities caught wind of the livestream, they immediately went to Tara's home in South Baltimore. Inside, they found her lifeless body, sprawled out on the floor. Jay had put a hole through her head. But unfortunately, that wasn't where the video ended.
Oh
in
boy.
the final moments of the stream, Jay says that this all really started with his ex-wife, Wendy. And so, quote, "She next. Then I'm gonna do myself too."
Did they stop him or?
And that's when we find out where he'd been streaming this whole time.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say earlier. Is he literally like streaming in front of his target or something? There's probably not enough time for him to be stopped or something. Like he probably just said that, so like anyone on the stream calling the cops, they're not gonna make it. That's insane. Like, come on. Like, I don't even know what to say. It's just sad. Like, he's gonna leave the kids without any parents.
From just outside Wendy's house.
I can't go to prison, so the person that really started my depression and all of this is my ex-wife. So she next, and then I'm going to do myself too, but I just wanted to say this to people. Don't play with people's emotions, man. Don't lie on these men. Oh, here's my ex-wife right here. Today's the day.
Oh, fuck.
Today's the day.
Disgusting. I mean, I would have given him some benefit of the doubt, but the fact that he killed his boss's ex-wife, I mean, he was probably a piece of shit and they were right to keep the kids away. And even if, you know, again, like, let's say he was alright before and they were literally just, you know, like, lying, even then, the fact that he does this, you know.
Again, Jay wasn't joking. In the final moments of the video, we can see Wendy, who was pregnant at the time,
oh my God,
peeking out of her front door as Jay quickly approaches her. The video cuts as he forces his way into her home. Seconds after ending the stream, Jay shot Wendy. and then calmly picked up his 2 daughters, put them inside the car parked in the driveway, and walked back inside the house. Finally, he ended his own life with a blast to the head. Needless to say, this is a very harrowing video.
Right, I can't imagine being a viewer of the stream, right? Like, I can't even imagine watching something like this, you know, like, he just revealed that he killed his ex-wife and that he's literally in front of his other ex-wife to do it, and you know that there's nothing you can do. Like, even if you call the cops, it's gonna be too late. I can't fucking imagine, like, watching that stream and being there. Absolute insanity. And the fact that he seems so normal, he's talking so normal, like... Yeah. I guess that's a good example of someone just, like, broken and lost their humanity, while still putting on a good face.
The calmness in Jay's voice as he explains what he's done and what he's about to do. Somehow, that relaxed demeanor makes the clip all the more chilling.
Alright.
Jay mentioned in the stream how he didn't want to spend the holidays alone. But after his selfish actions, that's exactly the position he left his kids in, after slaying their mothers and himself.
Not just their holidays, their whole life without their parents. Like, fucking hell, I don't even know what to say. I mean, obviously absolutely fucked up, and yeah. I hate it. All I can say. Utao no Tatari. The police says to, like, the singing curse. You've met with a terrible glitch, haven't you?
Utaho no Tatari, or in English, Utaho's Curse, is a relatively obscure Japanese indie horror series made using the Wolf RPG editor.
Oh.
In part 1, you play as Utano Yamano, a girl whose happy home life is shattered when she returns home one day to find her parents dead, her sister possessed by a red mask, and her grandmother as this thing.
Yeah, you know?
At least someone's having a good time.
That's not like a moon.
After that pleasant start to the game, you'll spend the rest of your time exploring very
like
large and very demon-infested houses, hotels, and shrines, following a trail of notes left behind by Utano's sister, uncovering clues and encountering bizarre entities, all while being pursued by this terrifying meat mannequin. Part 2 sees you playing as Shizune, a reporter investigating the mysterious disappearance of Utano from Part 1.
Okay.
The games certainly have an eerie atmosphere about them, what with all the jarring sound effects and disturbing visuals. There's just something about these warped, realistic images, contrasting with the 2D sprites, which gives the games a really haunting quality.
Sure. I said a cheaper only, but it actually looks pretty good.
Utaho no Tatari has a cult fan base. But since these games were never translated into English, they didn't receive as much international attention as other similar titles, like Yume Nikki. That is, until several years ago, when a mysterious and unsettling glitch was brought up in the r/creepy gaming subreddit. One that most players hadn't experienced.
Mr. Date?
はい。イベントの読み込みに失敗しました。1フレームあたりのその操作はできません。入力ボタンを確認してください。は？はい？
What the fuck?
何え
Okay.
えうわごめんなさい無理
So it's jump scare in the end? What's that surprising?
早くマジでお願い
Slowly fading.
これ何
He's just saying fast, what's happening?
As reported by a small minority of players, when they reached this shrine area in Part 2 and walked around for a while, their games randomly crashed. A jumbled string of error messages appeared and locked them out.
Is this really a segment in the video? Like, come on. The dev just programmed this? Like, maybe it's supposed to be, you know, like a very specific random jump scare that only happens, like, with a percentage or something, so that's why most players don't see it. Like, come on.
The game. After this error message, their screens flashed 4 times, before this image of a seemingly dead woman popped up out of nowhere, accompanied by an equally horrible noise. Those who stumbled into this glitch were of course creeped out by it, but most assumed that they had just bumped into an enemy without realizing, and patiently waited for the game over screen to appear. But it never did. Their games had frozen. The only way for them to get off this screen was to close the game and restart it. So, in their minds, this almost certainly wasn't a scripted event.
Nah, it wouldn't be the first time like a game does that, right? So there's some games, I don't have an example in my head, maybe Doki Doki, where like it goes beyond what you expect a game able to do, like it even goes into your computer or mess with some files or, you know, would crash itself for part of a bit. It's possible.
Most people who tried to deliberately trigger this crash also failed, suggesting this really was just a random glitch that didn't occur in most playthroughs. According to other people who've explored this mystery, this picture doesn't appear anywhere else in the game. When you're playing a horror game, you expect creepy imagery to crop up from time to time, but this photo really struck people for two reasons. Firstly,
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but this is like the most normal thing I've ever seen in any of these kind of videos. Like, this is so normal.
Because the image itself looked a little too real to some people.
It does look like a real face, yeah.
Of an actual dead woman.
Reminds me of like Blair Witch Project, you know, visuals.
So, what caused the glitch? Why did this picture appear after the crash? And just how real was the photo itself? Let's try and answer those three questions.
Maybe I'm talking too soon, let's see where it goes.
If or when you encounter this glitch, the error message that appears on screen is different depending on your locale. If you're outside of Japan, you'll be met with a string of garbled characters, which may have you thinking that this was a genuine crash. But if you switch your system locale to Japan, then your game will still crash. But instead of a meaningless string of characters, the text will display as intended. Now to most of us, this too just looks like an ordinary crash screen. But if you can read Japanese, that's obviously not the case. It's actually a string of typical sounding error messages, but with some horror sentences mixed in.
It's, again, why are we acting like this isn't something the dev programmed? Like, maybe it's people think it's too unusual for a dev to make the game crash, but again, to me this is just like a random jump scare thing. But programmed with like probably a low percentage, so a lot of players don't see it. I don't know.
For example, one part reads, location, date, Utaho no Tatari 2. The data is being damaged. Possible cause is...
Okay.
So, it seems like this glitch wasn't actually a glitch at all, but was a calculated jump scare. Indeed, this text is actually presented as an encounter between the player's current character, Shizune, and an evil version of the former protagonist, Utano, who seems to have become possessed after disappearing at the end of the first game. Given that part 1 begins with Utano discovering her mother's headless body, the inclusion of this image also makes a lot of sense. I mean, it does look like a detached head. With that context, it's clear that the error message was intentional, and we're meant to interpret it as either a demonic Utano presenting her mother's head to us, or Utano's own severed head communicating with us directly.
It's a creepy game.
If we dig around in the game's data files, we can see that the image is actually titled Yabai.
Yabai.
Yabai can mean a lot of things, depending on the context.
Very yabai.
But in this case, it would translate to something like, oh my god.
I would say this wasn't very yabai,
creator
though.
thought this image was particularly horrifying too, and figured it would be a scary thing to include in a fake crash. He thought this image was so scary, in fact, that despite what some have suggested, this actually isn't the only time it appears in the game. Here's the same asset, appearing as part of a weird live-action segment in part 2.
Huh. Okay. Whoa. Yeah, it was there.
As you can see, it only flashes up briefly, but it's there.
It's a creepy image, sure.
So, we now know that this so-called glitch was actually an Easter egg, designed to mess with a few unsuspecting players. But what the game files don't tell us is where this image originally came from, and whether it's real or fake. It's not unheard of for homebrew developers to throw images of real dead bodies into their games, The infamous Game Over screen from Hong Kong 97 springs to mind. What's more, this was a small, free-to-download indie game, not some studio project. It's conceivable that the creators could have included a highly saturated photo of an authentic body for either shock value, their own amusement, or because that's the only asset they could get their hands on.
So that's why we're going with this investigation. I was like, this is really like so light compared to the other case. Like, I can't believe this was included. I see, so it's another like image search. I mean, it could be an image of a dead body, or it could be just someone sleeping, or literally someone's face with the eye closed or something. The obvious would be to contact the developer, right?
So, is the picture real? Well, doing a reverse image search turned up nothing. So there was only one way to find out for sure. I put on my detective hat, did some internet sleuthing, and found the Twitter page of the game's creator. A guy by the name of Payan. Says here his last tweet was made in 2019, which isn't a good sign. But hold up. Says here that this is his old account. So let's click on this link to find his new one. And, well, last tweet was in 2017.
Okay.
Given that he had set his DMs to private, I got the impression that he was a man who was hard to contact. Without holding on to much hope, I decided to leave a comment under Payan's last tweet on both accounts, asking if he remembered the origin of the image. Given his post history, it's likely he doesn't speak English, and honestly, my Japanese is pretty atrocious. But handily, my lovely wife's a native speaker, so I asked her to translate my message to Payan. And no reply.
Damn.
Unfortunately, the guy seems to have disappeared from the internet entirely, taking the answer to this mystery with him. Unless he returns, I'm afraid we can only speculate whether this image is real or fake. I thought it looked like an edited version of Girl with a Pearl Earring,
I see,
but putting them side by side, you can see that the angle's all wrong.
It's a cutout of the face, I guess.
So, who is this a picture of? And should we be getting Hong Kong 97 vibes or not? I'm starting to think we'll never know.
I mean, frankly, there's more investigation that could be done, like to find the guys, using his name, and he probably has other accounts in other place. It's probably easy to find him. Okay. Interesting. I mean, I guess I see the point. If it is a dead body, yeah, it is creepy. Otherwise, yeah, it's literally just something programmed by the dev. Yeah. There's the Masquerade. Okay.
A huge thank you to all of my supporters here.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that was interesting. I think the truly disturbing one was like the live stream one. This last one with the image, or like the missing person one. I wouldn't say they were very disturbing, but the live stream one was fucked up. I mean, that was beyond fucked up. Yeah. That is the kind of thing that's like, yeah, I can't imagine having been a viewer live of that or something. Can you imagine how you would feel? Okay, well, first video of the series, obviously, from 2 years ago. I'm a bit mixed. I do feel like, except the live stream part, like the two other cases were very, very, very tame. Maybe compared to what I'm used to, right? But maybe the series will grow.